And
Hi.
welcome, welcome you, Paloma, our very honored guest. We're so happy to have you here today. You probably don't need any introduction to this group, but I just have to do something. So welcome everyone to the May Swing Left Take Action meeting, where our guest is Paloma Aguirre, Mayor Paloma Aguirre of Imperial Beach, but she is not just a mayor. She's so much more than a mayor. First of all, she's running in the most important election in San Diego this year for the County Board of Supervisors. She's an incredibly effective environmental activist, particularly around the Tijuana River sewage crisis, but so many more things. She's a proponent of San Diego community power. She is an incredible supporter of working people and of the labor movement. And I found out just today she is also a competitive bodyboarder. So she's a woman of many incredible talents. And Paloma, we're just so very, very honored and happy to have you here. So, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you all. I don't know if you can hear me okay.
We can hear you fine. Can we spotlight Paloma, Larry? Do we have video?
No, I think she's on the phone. Do you have video, Paloma?
I see that I'm trying to find the where to activate the video, but I don't see the function. Oh, here we are. Join as panelists. There we go. Hi everyone. I'm so grateful to be with you all. I'm sorry I'm coming to you from my car now in the field. So what a wonderful introduction. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Paloma Aguirre. I'm proud to be the District 1 Democratic candidate running for the County Board of Supervisors in this very fast-paced, very important, very consequential special election. As you know, District 1 does not have a leader at this time because our elected supervisor decided to not move forward once they won the seat. So we have been campaigning very fast, at a very fast pace, very strongly for the last few months. But yes, we are very grateful to have made the primary, and now we're running essentially against a MAGA Republican who is very interested in cutting essential public services and programs in our county. For those of you who may not know, the county has an $8.6 billion budget, and it's in charge of many of the people's programs that serve the community. And we want to make sure that when we get in there, we make sure that those programs continue, especially in a time when we have so many cuts and so much disorder coming from the White House. We have proposed cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, not to mention all of the unlawful practices that have been happening around the treatment of our immigrant brothers and sisters, which is incredibly concerning. Obviously, we are a border county, so we need to make sure that we hold the line at the county and prevent a lot of this chaos from taking root. As was mentioned before, from my perspective, it's something that's incredibly important to me, not just all of that, but also fighting the sewage crisis that is now impacting communities well beyond Imperial Beach. We now have the empirical evidence from 4 different academic institutions, including San Diego State and Scripps Institution of Oceanography, that all of this Tijuana River related pollution includes not just pollutants that affect the soil, that affect our coastal waters, but now are permeating our air, including toxic gases like hydrogen sulfide and PFAS, volatile organic compounds, which are just really, really bad chemicals that are carcinogenic to humans. We are all here in South County. Most of the community surrounding the Tijuana River are being impacted by this pollution. So it's extremely concerning. We have not had the support that we need from the state. We have not had the support that we need at the federal level. Yes, we fought and secured $600 million last year to fix and double the capacity of the international wastewater treatment plants. But the main source of pollution to us is the Tijuana River itself. And that continues to flow freely into the ocean with no treatment by any of the treatment plants. So I recently, just last week, I asked for a budget increase at the county to be able to tackle some of the core actions that the county can take that we don't need to wait for the state or federal government to assist us with. Making sure that we address and build more affordable housing is incredibly important, as is keeping people housed as well. So that's very important. And how do we do that? We make sure that we bring in measures that can keep people housed, essentially making sure that we don't see them being evicted by corporate unscrupulous landlords that are just concerned with their bottom line and not with the lives of people. And also homelessness, addressing homelessness. We have incredibly high numbers of people who are unsheltered and living on the streets, and that's absolutely unacceptable. We have over 10,000 people, and we need increased services, wraparound services. We need more access to behavioral health, mental health, behavioral health beds, for example. And we need to make sure that, just like we have done here in Imperial Beach, where we have homes or permanently relocated into permanent housing or services, 50% of our unsheltered population here in Imperial Beach. We need to make sure that we replicate that throughout the county. So just to end, again, consequential election, we only have 14 days until ballots arrive in the mail and voting begins. We had an incredibly, sadly, low turnout of voters in this district in the primary. We had about 17.8% turnout. So the road ahead, the road to success, we know what it is. We need to activate as many voters as possible, because the upside of this election is that we do have a Democratic majority in the district. If we make sure that we turn out every voting Democrat in this race and left-leaning independent, then we have a clear path to success. But the fight won't be easy because we're running against, as I mentioned earlier, a MAGA Republican that presents themselves in a very moderate, reasonable way, and has a very high name ID because he has been in office for 20 years. So I welcome you all into this opportunity to help us in this consequential race that will be over in a few weeks. And any time of your day that you can spare our way, whether it's by phone banking, which we have every single weekday, phone banking opportunities, or canvassing every single weekend until the election. I could not urge you enough to help us, but be grateful enough to you all for giving us this opportunity to come together, coalesce, and continue to energize and power this People Power campaign, because we can and we will win, but together, only together. So I'll pause there and open it up for questions if there's anything.
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time out of canvassing, which I know is critically important. And let me get to some of the questions. I guess the first one, which is sort of answered already, is what can people do to help? And you outlined some things, and then we have things in the chat that go from helping out with canvassing, helping out with phone banking. There's an indivisible group called Change Begins With Me that is writing postcards to voters in District 1, hoping to get out the vote. And then our group, Take Action San Diego, has started a fund, and our goal is to raise $2,500 in support of your campaign. And this is the first time that we are putting the link out. So I think there's $50 in there right now because I just tested it out to make sure that it works. But I hope even as we are speaking today that people can donate. It is a donation that will be incredibly worthwhile. And even if you do not live in District 1, of course, having Paloma elected to the County Board of Supervisors is going to affect our lives in San Diego County because we will now have a leader, a Democratic majority, and the ability to pursue the policies and the legislation that are going to keep us safe and democratic and healthy. So again, those are all the ways that people can help. We've listed, I believe your campaign has phone banks set up. I know Working Families Party does as well. And so we have added those in on all of those links as well. And I'm also going to see now what are some of the other questions.
I'm seeing some of the questions on the Q&A that I'm
Oh,
happy
good.
to address if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay. So I see a question from Christina Sue that I love the list Wendy just gave with Mayor Aguirre's positive. What is the reasoning behind the focus on negative campaign ads in the supervisor race? I would like to see mailers from Mayor Aguirre that focus more on her positions and achievements. The one we just received has 3 pages of McCann and Trump and barely any information about Mayor Aguirre. I want to thank you for that question and address it because it's an important question that I want to make sure that we get to chat. You'll find in me somebody who's just very straightforward and transparent about things. So we did run a poll. We ran a poll after the primary against Mayor McCann, with Mayor McCann, us running against Mayor McCann. And the reality is that without any contextual information on where we both sat, he comes out ahead. That's just the reality. He comes out ahead because he's been in office for 20 years. He, as I mentioned, comes off as a very reasonable, nice guy. I personally, as mayors, and we're both mayors of South Bay cities, we've worked together. He comes off as very nice, but as soon as you start to peel the layer of the onion, you start to discover that he is a Trump Republican. He does not stand for working families. Just to give you an example, his position on housing is basically just build more housing that people can buy, home ownership, luxury housing. That we well know that you have to make $278,000 to be able to afford to buy a home right now in San Diego County. The district has the lowest median household income in the entire district, so there's no way that that's our way out of this housing crisis. So that's just to give you an example. But then you peel the other further layers and you discover what's in the mailer is absolutely true. It is absolutely true. He did ask Trump to pardon a convicted felon. He got that convicted felon pardoned, and then that felon turned around and committed the exact same crime and then donated almost $60,000 to his campaign. So I think the voters need to make an informed decision, and there's not really, if you don't dig into those layers, there's not many opportunities for people to see that or learn that. So we started giving that information to the public, to the people. We will build as we go along on more on what are the things that I bring to the table that we've been working on that are our values, that are based on our values. But the reality is that if we don't speak those truths, there will be a very narrow, very limited path to success. And I'll just leave it at that. Would you like me to answer some of the other ones?
Yeah, I think Roxanne was next.
Yes.
Do you see that one?
Yes. How would you address the budget deficit without cutting vital programs? What innovative solutions would you suggest to address the issues facing San Diego? So very simple, and I've been very vocal about this. We have an $8.6 billion budget at the county, and we have almost $2.4 billion in reserves. These reserves have been governed under very conservative policies for a very long time. It's not that long ago that we were able to acquire the Democratic majority at the board level, but at the administrative level, there's still we still are governed by policies of the days of Ron Roberts, right? When we had the board led by Republicans. So something that I am very supportive of is taking a second look at how we use our reserves, because we have enough reserves of the people's money to put back into these programs to offset some of the cuts that are being looked at because of the Trump policies and tariffs and an array of other things. At this point, I don't support increasing new taxes until we look into our reserves and make sure that we put that money back into the community. The county is facing a $138 million structural deficit, which is not as bad as some of the other agencies are looking at, but I think tapping into our rainy day fund while we have a full-blown storm taking hold here in the county is exactly what the reserves were built for. We can do that in a responsible way, still staying within the fiscal analyst standards of what a healthy reserve looks like, without falling into any danger of having to cut essential public services. So that's my stance. I can't say that that's the stance of my opponent at this point. He's made it very clear that he's willing and able to make cuts, including, weekend hours at libraries, other types of programs. So there's that.
Okay, and then Mayors is asking, what do you see as the key effects of the Republican administration on San Diegans?
Yes, so just to give you an example, 140,000 families depend on some form of a nutritional assistance program. Working families are and will be affected by the cuts that are being proposed. 40% in the district depend on some sort of Medicaid, for example. So these types of programs are incredibly beneficial to all of the county, but especially, the lowest median household income county district in the county. So that's just one way that these cuts have been impacting the community already. Now, the tariffs have been having a very detrimental effect on the stock market, which has caused lots of our pension unfunded liability to have tremendous losses, which has a ripple effect into the county resources and what we're responsible for paying. So that means that's what's causing us to go into a deficit. Now, not to mention the chainsaw, basically, to key programs and bedrock laws, like the cuts to FEMA, the cuts to EPA, the cuts to the Centers for Disease Control, which are having very real ripple effects, not just in the district, but countywide. And that's not even talking about the ICE raids and separation of families that are occurring in a unlawful way and without due process.
Just to name a few.
Just to name a few. I mean, we could keep going, but yeah.
All right. And Caleb is asking, about postcards, which I did put a link in there, but much more critically, there was an article in the Union Tribune today that somebody else has died in custody under the sheriff's watch, and this has been a concern of this group for many years, and that is what kind of power does the County Board of Supervisors have to rein in the sheriff and stop this awful scourge of so many jail deaths.
Yeah, and it's frankly a national embarrassment, right? We have some of the highest, if not the highest, mortality rate of deaths in custody that could have been prevented. And one is one too many. It's devastating for the families and their deaths that could have been preventable. So we know, and it's been made very clear by our sheriff that she has a statutoral right to implement the law as she or he sees fit, but the county board has the power of the purse. So I think that's one way that we can create some pressure to, persuade or work with the sheriff to increase medical coverage and assistance and stop the illegal contraband coming into the jails, which is another point that's been identified. I think I was just asked on KPBS if I supported increasing the authority of the CLRB. I think that they've been doing a good job and trying as best as they can to bring recommendations, but sometimes those recommendations aren't taken into consideration. So we need to take a look at that as well. So I want to make sure that just like we are known for the record number of deaths in our jail, we should be able to reach the point of that never happening.
Right. Thank you very much. There are more questions, but I know you have to go, so we'll try to do our best to answer them here. But I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, and know that there's many of us here who are going to do what we can to get you elected. It will just be a great day when you're there, and we will have the Democratic majority, and we can start seeing good things happening again in the county. So thanks so much for running and for being here today. Yeah.
Thank you for making time for me. Thank you. I appreciate you all.